What if the key to maintaining youthful skin and lasting energy wasn't hidden in a lab, but quietly waiting on your plate at the end of the day? For decades, we've been told that aging is an unavoidable, slow decline dictated by time, genetics, and fate. Modern science, however, is beginning to rewrite that story. Aging is not only about the passage of time, it's about how our cells respond to it. One of the most overlooked windows for influence is the final hours before sleep. As night falls, your body doesn't shut down. It shifts into a deeply coordinated state of repair. Skin cells start regenerating. The brain begins detoxifying through the lymphatic system. Metabolism recalibrates. Growth hormone surges, quietly rebuilding and renewing. Imagine now that a simple traditional Japanese food consumed before bedtime could enhance these natural processes. In Japan, longevity is a cultural standard, not a goal, and certain nighttime food traditions have been practiced for generations. Researchers at institutions like Kyoto University and the National Institute on Aging are now uncovering how fermented foods, amino acid signaling, and circadian nutrition can influence collagen production, mitochondrial efficiency, and cellular repair during sleep. This is not just about eating, it's about timing, biology, and activating a system within you that already knows how to heal when given the right signals. During the night, your body enters a restoration mode. Blood flow to the skin increases. Growth hormone is released in pulses, and fibroblasts, the cells producing collagen, become more active. Your skin doesn't age evenly throughout the day. It repairs most intensely at night. Traditional Japanese foods like natto, fermented soybeans, or simple miso broths contain amino acids such as glycine, proline, and glutamic acid. These are not just nutrients. They are signals and building blocks. Studies published in journals like Dermatology and supported by the National Institute on Aging show that collagen synthesis relies on amino acid availability, especially during sleep when hormonal repair occurs. Consuming these compounds before bed aligns your nutrition with your body's peak regenerative window. Think of it like supplying a construction crew with materials exactly when they start work. Glycine, one of the most abundant amino acids in collagen-rich and fermented foods, also improves sleep quality. Research from the Japanese Society of Sleep Research shows that taking glycine before bed helps participants fall asleep faster and enjoy deeper, restorative sleep cycles. This dual effect supports both collagen production and the sleep architecture that enables repair. A restful night leaves your skin visibly different, and that change is biological, not imagined. About 60 to 90 minutes before bed, incorporating a small portion of fermented Japanese food like natto or light miso soup can be highly beneficial. Keep it simple and consistent. It's a signal, subtle yet powerful. Longevity is shaped by rhythm, not extremes. By eating in harmony with your body's healing cycles, you participate in renewal rather than just aging. Beneath your skin, your gut is the architect. Overnight, the microbiome plays a major role in how you look, feel, and age. This internal ecosystem of trillions of bacteria is dynamic and responds to both what and when you eat. The gut also follows a circadian rhythm. Research from the Salk Institute for Biological Studies shows that gut bacteria fluctuate in composition and activity depending on the time of day. At night, as the body prepares for fasting and repair, certain beneficial microbes become more active, supporting anti-inflammatory signaling and metabolic regulation. Introducing fermented Japanese foods like natto, miso, or pickled vegetables before bed supplies probiotics, prebiotic substrates, and bioactive compounds that nourish beneficial bacteria. The gut, like a rainforest, shifts into restoration and growth at night. Feeding it at the right time maximizes this process. A 2020 study in Cell Metabolism demonstrated that time-specific feeding can alter microbiome diversity and improve metabolic outcomes without changing total calorie intake. Timing is as crucial as content. A balanced microbiome reduces intestinal permeability, preventing inflammatory molecules from entering the bloodstream. Low-grade inflammation affects the skin, energy levels, and cognition. Supporting the gut overnight promotes production of beneficial compounds like short-chain fatty acids, which reduce inflammation, strengthen the gut barrier, and preserve collagen integrity in the skin. The effect is systemic. You are not merely feeding bacteria. You are enhancing a network that sustains youthful skin, energy, and overall wellness. By morning, you are not simply waking up. You are experiencing the outcome of countless biological signals that moved through your body during the night. A practical approach is simple. In the evening, add a light fermented food to your routine. Avoid turning it into a large meal. A small serving of miso soup, a portion of fermented vegetables, or natto combined with a simple side can be enough. What matters most is regularity, not volume. There are mornings when you wake feeling unusually refreshed, mentally sharp, and energized. That experience may not be accidental. It may reflect an internal ecosystem functioning exactly as intended. Health does not emerge from isolated systems. It develops through interactions between cells, between microbes, and through the choices made during the quiet period before sleep. Inside every cell exists a structure so essential to vitality that scientists often refer to it as the body's energy currency system. These structures are known as mitochondria. Tiny yet powerful, they transform food into ATP, the molecule that powers everything from muscular movement to brain function. What many people do not realize is that mitochondria are continuously repaired, renewed, and recycled, particularly while we sleep. This is where the story becomes even more compelling. Traditional Japanese foods, especially fermented options such as natto, contain naturally occurring bioactive compounds including spermidine and various amino acid derivatives that affect cellular metabolism. Spermidine has received significant attention in aging research. Studies conducted at institutions such as the Max Planck Institute for Biology of Aging have associated it with improved mitochondrial performance and increased autophagy activity in model organisms. Put simply, spermidine assists cells in removing damaged components and converting them into new functional structures, including mitochondria themselves. Imagine thousands of miniature batteries operating throughout your body. During the day, they release energy as you move, think, and carry out daily life. At night, they enter a maintenance cycle. Damaged elements are identified. Inefficient parts are dismantled. New mitochondrial networks begin to form. This entire process depends heavily on biological signals. Nutritional and metabolic cues tell cells when conditions are appropriate for repair. When nutrient-dense fermented foods are consumed before sleep, the benefit goes beyond calories. These foods help shape the biochemical environment that influences how effectively overnight restoration occurs. There is another important factor involved: oxidative stress. A review published in Nature Reviews Molecular Cell Biology in 2018 highlighted mitochondrial dysfunction and oxidative damage as major contributors to aging and fatigue. When mitochondria lose efficiency, they release reactive oxygen species that can damage proteins, lipids, and DNA. Yet there is an encouraging aspect to this process. Improving mitochondrial quality can reduce part of that damaging cascade. Timing becomes especially important here. During sleep, cortisol levels decline while growth hormone increases. This creates ideal conditions for mitochondrial biogenesis, the formation of new and more efficient energy-producing structures. Nutrients that support this process appear most effective when aligned with this biological window. In practical terms, a modest evening intake of fermented Japanese foods rich in nutrients is more than a healthy habit. It acts as a metabolic signal. It provides instructions that help determine how energy will be produced the following day, based on what is supplied the night before. Many people have experienced mornings when energy feels smooth and effortless, as though the body is operating on a cleaner and more reliable fuel source. That sensation may reflect improved mitochondrial efficiency developed quietly overnight. The more consistently this process is supported, the more baseline energy can gradually improve, not through stimulation, but through restoration. True energy is not forced into existence. It is generated by cells that are properly maintained, properly timed, and properly supported. There is one principle that influences nearly every biological system in the body. Biology functions through rhythm. The heart follows rhythm. Breathing follows rhythm. Even genes operate according to rhythm, switching on and off through a highly coordinated schedule. This timing system is called the circadian rhythm. It is directed by a master regulator within the brain, known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Even more remarkable, individual organs maintain their own peripheral clocks. The liver, gut, skin, and fat tissue all keep time independently. In a very real sense, the body is not governed by a single clock, but by an entire orchestra of clocks working together. Modern lifestyles often create subtle disruptions to this coordination. Eating late at night, Inconsistent meal schedules and heavily processed foods can push these biological clocks out of sync. When digestion remains active at inappropriate times, the liver continues processing nutrients while the brain attempts to enter a deep restorative state. The result is an internal mismatch known by researchers as circadian desynchrony. An expanding body of evidence, including research published in Nature Communications, has linked circadian misalignment with greater inflammation, impaired glucose regulation, and accelerated biological aging. Fortunately, there is another side to the story. Circadian systems respond remarkably well to correction. One of the strongest tools available is meal timing. Traditional Japanese dietary patterns frequently emphasize lighter evening meals consumed earlier in the day, minimizing digestive burden at night. Fermented foods such as miso and natto, when eaten in modest amounts before sleep, provide bioactive compounds without placing excessive demands on digestion. This allows the body to remain in a state of rest and recovery while still receiving molecular signals that encourage repair. Consider the body as an orchestra preparing for a quiet movement dedicated to restoration. If one section continues playing loudly at the wrong moment, the entire performance loses balance. Food is one of those instruments. Poor timing creates disruption. Appropriate timing creates harmony. Research in chrononutrition also suggests that consuming certain amino acids and fermented compounds during the evening may influence melatonin production, the hormone responsible for regulating sleep initiation and quality. Stronger melatonin signaling does more than help a person fall asleep. It also supports deeper sleep stages where cellular repair reaches its highest activity. What does this alignment feel like in daily life? Often, it appears deceptively simple. Falling asleep becomes easier. Morning mental fog becomes less noticeable. Energy remains steadier rather than fluctuating sharply. Hunger feels more controlled throughout the next day. These changes are not random. They are indications that the body's internal clocks are beginning to work together once again. In the evening, focus on light, predictable, low-stress nourishment. Avoid stimulation or excess. Think of it as sending a closing signal to your metabolism. A gentle message that says, "The day is complete. Repair can begin." Even small disruptions in evening habits can ripple through the following day. This is circadian biology in action. Once you respect this rhythm instead of fighting it, your body stops resisting time and begins cooperating with it. There is aging you can see and aging you cannot. Wrinkles, gray hair, and slower movement are visible signs. Beneath the surface, a more influential process unfolds: chronic low-grade inflammation. Scientists call this inflammaging. It is not sharp, obvious inflammation from injury or infection. Instead, it is subtle, persistent, a quiet smolder gradually altering how cells function. Inflammaging is now recognized as a key driver of cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, metabolic dysfunction, and skin aging. Research published in journals like Nature Reviews Immunology emphasizes that controlling inflammatory signaling is among the most powerful levers for extending health span. This is where Japanese nighttime rituals become relevant. Traditional fermented foods such as natto and miso contain bioactive peptides, isoflavones, and microbial metabolites that influence inflammatory pathways. These compounds interact with immune signaling networks, including NF-kappa B, a molecular switch regulating inflammatory gene expression. When NF-kappa B is chronically elevated, inflammation persists. When modulated downward, the body shifts toward restoration. Inflammation can be thought of as a fire alarm system. When functioning correctly, it protects. When oversensitive, it reacts to harmless triggers, slowly wearing down the system. Consistently providing foods that recalibrate this alarm system does not turn off inflammation. It restores its intelligence. Another critical mechanism is the gut-immune connection. The microbiome regulates immune activity. When beneficial bacteria are supported, especially through fermented foods, they produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate. These molecules reduce intestinal inflammation and strengthen the gut barrier, preventing inflammatory compounds from entering circulation. Studies in gut microbiome research show that diets rich in fermented foods increase microbial diversity and reduce systemic inflammatory markers. Evening nutrition is therefore more than digestion. It is immune programming. At night, the body naturally shifts toward repair and immune recalibration. Heavy inflammatory meals interfere with this process. Gentle, fermentation-rich nourishment supports the transition into a balanced immune state. Over time, lower inflammation results in clearer skin, more stable energy, and slower cellular aging. Periods of clean eating and better sleep often make the entire body feel lighter, physically and internally. This is frequently the reduction of inflammatory load. A guiding principle for evening nutrition: choose foods that reduce biological noise rather than increase it. Prioritize simplicity and fermentation. Offer nourishment that signals safety to the immune system. When the body feels safe, it stops unnecessary defense and begins repair. Beyond inflammation lies one of the most powerful regenerative systems: autophagy. This process acts as a hidden recycling intelligence, scanning, sorting, and renewing cellular landscapes. The term autophagy literally means self-eating, yet in biology it is far more elegant. Autophagy identifies damaged proteins, dysfunctional organelles, and cellular waste, breaking them down and repurposing components into new functional structures. It is an internal renewal system, especially active during fasting and deep sleep. Research from Kyoto University, notably by Nobel laureate Yoshinori Ohsumi, established autophagy as central in aging, longevity, and disease prevention. Their findings are simple but profound. When cells are not constantly flooded with nutrients, they enter maintenance mode and clean themselves. Timing and food composition are critical. Heavy, highly processed meals late at night suppress autophagy. The body prioritizes digestion over repair. Light, nutrient-dense, fermentation-based foods like natto or miso in small amounts walk a delicate line, providing beneficial signals without overwhelming metabolic pathways. Traditional Japanese dietary patterns illustrate this scientifically. Natto contains compounds such as nattokinase and polyamines studied for cellular repair and cardiovascular support. Miso provides fermentation-derived peptides that may influence oxidative stress pathways. These are not miracle foods, but subtle biological modulators that guide cellular behavior during repair windows. Autophagy can be imagined as a nightly cleanup crew inside a vast city. During the day, the city is busy with traffic, construction, consumption, and waste. At night, when activity slows, the cleanup crew moves in. If streets remain crowded from late eating, efficiency drops. When the environment is calm, light, and predictable, the crew works with precision, removing debris and restoring order, preparing for a more efficient tomorrow. Supporting this process is not about forcing it, but about removing obstacles. Health is sometimes not about adding more, but about allowing biology to function naturally. Mornings after a light dinner may feel unusually clear, as if the body reset overnight. That may reflect autophagy operating with fewer interruptions. Please leave your thoughts about this content in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.